Okay, today we are going to make the second part of chapter 3 about spaces and exponential generating function. So last time we stopped at weighted spaces. So we have seen ordinary spaces with some operations, sum, product, substitution, etc. Today we are going to see two other kinds of spaces: weighted spaces and linear spaces. First, I start with an example. So here is an assembly of permutation. So it's a composition of the spaces permutation, and I put them inside the spaces E, which is set or ensemble in French. So an assembly of permutation, just remind you, it's you take a set 1, 2, etc. until n. I'm taking 3 blocks. And on each block, I put a permutation, or a total order. So generating function of permutation or total order of non-empty, each block is non-empty structure. So generating function of non-empty permutation is this. And taking an assembly of this is equivalent to take the exponential of the generating function. Now I am going to work with weighted spaces. So I would like to, in this assembly, to put an extra variable x, which is going to count the number of blocks, the number of permutation in the assembly. So putting x in each block, it's equivalent in a generating function to put exponential, means assembly of this. This is a permutation weighted by x. So this gives you an idea of what is weighted spaces. We have the spaces F, which is a composition of E and S, and V, the weight of the spaces, will be the weight of each element of the F structure, and each element, it's an x for each block. So the total weight of this object is x to the 3. There is 3 blocks, it's x to the cube, and the variable x is taking account the number of blocks. Variable t is taking account the total number of elements on the spaces. So this is a typical, simple example of weighted spaces. We want to count our object with some parameter. Here the parameter is the number of blocks of the assembly. Exercise. Prove that the number of assembly of permutation on non-elements having k components is exactly given by this formula. The binomial coefficient multiplied by divided is 2 factorial, and this is called the La number. They appear in literature and it's not too difficult, but take any way you want, by calculus, by generating function, or by bijection. So I am going to define what is weighted spaces. It's analog definition of spaces, but there is an extra thing which is the weight, or V is for valuation. So we have a spaces F with a weight V. So I take a commutative ring, This is going to be the space of the weight. The ring can be numbers, or can be polynomial, everything. And then for each element in the F structure, this is U, the underlying set. I take a structure F on a U, and then to each element alpha, I put a weight, which is an element of the ring. It's a weight on the alpha, which is an F structure for the species F, and then there is a few axioms which must be compatible with the axiom of spaces. If you have any bijection sending U to V, you have a transport of the structure. This structure on F of U is going to be transported by in beta on a structure analog on V, and then the weight must be preserved. If you have the weight of my assembly of permutation, which was 3 blocks on the number 1 to n, if I transport this set U on the set A, B, C, D, V of letters, then I will put a weight which must be compatible with the previous weight. So it's very simple, just it's the same axiom, maybe same functor, but just with some compatibility for the weight. And then there is a generating function, generating power series of the weighted spaces. Its exponential notation, instead of an, number of F structure, I will have Pn, a certain element of the ring K, where Pn is the sum of all the weight of all structure of type F on the underlying set U, where U has an element. And it does not depend of U because the compatibility of transport, only of the cardinality of N, and because the compatibility of the transport of the weight when I do the transportation of structure in the functor defining the spaces. So I have elementary operation, the same as before, but just you have to take care of the weight. So the sum of two structures, you remember last time, so I just remind you the operation you have done last time. The sum of two structures F and G is symbolized by this picture. Else, you put an F structure on U, or you put a G structure on U. And there must be intersection, must be empty between these two lists of structure. So what is the weight? So the weight V associated to F plus G is just you take, when you have an F structure, you put the weight V, you take the weight V1. If you have a G structure, then you take the weight V2, and then this defines the weight V associated to the sum. So now product of two spaces with weight V1 and V2, you have so the product, I remind you, the product of the spaces, you take the underlying set U, then you take a partition of U in two blocks, U1 and U2. On the first block, U1, you put an F structure. On the second block, you put a G structure. So this is the element of the product. Gamma is a quadruple. U1, U2, a partition of U, alpha, beta, some F and G structure. And I have a weight V1 for F. I have a weight V2 for G, and then the rule is that the weight of the total of the gamma is the product of the weight. And this define me the weight V of the product of two structures. And then the generating function related to this weight will be the product of generating function. I forget to say in the sum, the generating function with the weight will be the sum. No, the generating function with the weight will be the product. And I remind you that the third operation, substitution. Substitution of two. So I remind you what is a substitution. Substitution of you have underlying set U. Then you take a partition into block of the underlying set U. On each block, you put a G structure. And on the set of block, you put an F structure. For example, before, the first example was on each block was a permutation. And then on the set of block, on the set of permutation, I put a set structure, means I do nothing. I keep it like it is without putting anything. So the element of the substitution is gamma. It's a K-play of it's a partition of U into U1, U2, UK. Alpha is an element of F structure on the set of block, and beta 1, beta K has element in this block G. And then I take this rule, V of gamma. The weight is very natural rule. The weight is the total weight is the product of all the weight. And this rule, so that the generating function, this defines me the weighted composition of F and G. And with this rule, I can say that the generating function with the weight of the substitution is just the substitution of the weighted generating function for F and G. So the operation of substitution is compatible with the operation of substitution inside generating function with the weight V. Now we have two more operations, pointed and derivative. So when you point the spaces like this, you have a pair alpha and F structure, and then you take an element X of U, you point it, and then for gamma it's pointed, then the weight is the same. The weight of the pointed structure will just take the weight of alpha. You don't put any it's independent of the choice of the point X. So that the generating function of this is with the weight is going to be T times the derivative of the derivative function as for the ordinary spaces. And finally, the derivative of weighted spaces, you remember, so to take the derivative of the F prime structure on U, you have to add an extra point on U, and then you put an F structure on this U plus the star, and what you do is you preserve the weight for the for f prime is the same as the weight. As the weight for f, v of gamma is going to be v1 of gamma. And then the weighted derivative function will be the derivative of the weighted derivative function for f.
So here, while taking derivatives, do we forget this point later?
Well, it's an abstract definition. This point, when I take derivative function, I have forgotten I don't have any point in anything when I take the derivative of the derivative function. But to define the derivative, maybe it's at the beginning it's a little awkward or maybe difficult to think of this because we are augmenting the set u, and derivative means you are collapsing something, you are destroying some term. But this is to define. We will see a lot of examples because this chapter is mainly related to differential equation. So all along this class today, you will see a lot of derivatives. So if it's obscure now, you will understand more later. It says you take the derivative of an f structure, you put on the underlying set u, you add an extra point. And you put an f structure on u plus the extra point. And I can do this with the weight. If there is a weight on f, then I put a weight here just by preserving the weight of the object. So that's the derivative. The derivative according to t. T is a variable which counts the number of points. If there is extra variable like x, y, z, don't. Example, some orthogonal polynomial. So here is a definition of the Hermite, one possible definition of a Hermite polynomial. Hermite polynomial are defined by an exponential generating function, like this. So it's a polynomial in x, and the exponential generating function is exponential of x of t minus t2 over 2, which in symbolic way I can put like this. So you can see immediately the interpretation of a Hermite polynomial in terms of some configuration. So x is going to be, xt is going to be this blue point cycle, and minus t2 over 2 is going to be this cycle of length 2. Remember the number of involution we have seen last time is exponential of t plus t2 over 2. So I am putting a weight on this involution, a weight x for each fixed point, and a weight minus 1 for each cycle of length 2. Remember that we work in exponential generating function, so it's t2 over factorial 2. Now the weight, so the weight of this Hermite configuration is the product of all the weight, the product of all the x, so it's going to be x power the number of fixed point, minus 1 power the number of cycle of length 2. So I can define a Hermite polynomial as to be the sum over all involution on the set 1 to n, and v of alpha is being the product of all the weight, product of all the x and product of all the minus 1. So defining Hermite like this, you can see immediately it's equivalent as defining Hermite as an exponential generating function as soon as you see the Hermite configuration is you can say that Hermite configuration is a sum of two species. This is the set species, fixed point on each point. This is the set. It's equivalent to a set. So this is x power the number of elements of the set. And this is the species of involution with no fixed point, which is an assembly of cycle of length 2. Or you can say also it's an assembly of fixed point, or it's a sum of these two species, this one and this one, sum of this, and you take an assembly of things like this, which can be a point or it can be a cycle. Also, we have seen in chapter 1 that Hermite polynomial were the matching polynomial of the complete graph. It's the same thing in another language. Matching polynomial means that you take the complete graph, all possible edges, and you put 2 by 2 disjoint edges. Each edges is weighted minus 1. Each fixed point having no edges is weighted x. And this is called a special case of the matching polynomial of the complete graph. So this corresponds to cycle of length 2, and this corresponds to fixed point in the involution description of Hermite. So exercise, elementary exercise, find a formula for the coefficient of Hermite polynomial, which depends on n and k, which means you find a formula for the number of involution counted by number of fixed points. So second example, after the Hermite, another very classical orthogonal polynomial which fit very well in this species setting, Laguerre polynomial. So both polynomials are orthogonal polynomial. I will explain maybe if I have time in complement what is the formal orthogonal polynomial. So Laguerre polynomial can be defined again. One possible definition is by the exponential generating function. So I'm working with Laguerre polynomial with the parameter alpha. Usually alpha is a real number, but here in the philosophy of combinatorics, alpha is a formal variable, a parameter. If you want to put alpha equal 1 over 2 after, you are right. But for us, it's just a letter, the formal parameter. An exponential generating function, you have this multiply exponential of this. So t over 1 minus t is permutation or total order. So we have an assembly of total order. So we have seen this is in the exercise in made by Lie number. Multiply a product of two species, and this is if I put alpha equal 0, I get generative functions for permutation. So I have a weight on permutation, and I claim that this weight is going to be alpha plus 1, the number of cycles of the permutation. We will see why. So here is the Laguerre configuration. This term, before going to the alpha, 1 over 1 minus t is any permutation. Maybe it's empty permutation. So permutation written as a set of cycles. This is a species permutation. Now this term is a total order, a chain, with same generative function and permutation. At a species level, permutation in cycle and total order are not isomorphic species. So this chain has a weight minus x. So each chain has a blue point at the end minus x. Now I claim that each cycle, if I put a weight alpha plus 1 for each cycle, I claim that the weighted generating function of the whole thing is exactly this. And I'm going to give you the proof of this. So I restate it. Define this a Laguerre configuration. I claim that the Laguerre polynomial can be defined as a sum over all Laguerre configuration on n point, where the weight of a Laguerre configuration is alpha plus 1 power I, the total number of cycles of the permutation on the left, and minus x power j, the total number of chain. So this is what I have done here. See, you have a permutation. Each cycle has weight alpha plus 1. Each total chain has weight minus x. If you take the total product of all the alpha plus 1 and all the minus x, you get this weight, and I claim that the sum of all the weight gives me the Laguerre polynomial. And I claim that this is exactly another language to say that the generating function of Laguerre is exactly given by this. So I have to just to show that weighting cycle means taking power alpha plus 1 of 1 over 1 minus t. So I take this left part of the Laguerre configuration. So cycle, what is the generative function of cycle? It's a logarithm of permutation. So it's a logarithm of 1 minus t. Now I multiply by a plus 1. Each cycle is weighted with alpha plus 1. And I take now an assembly of cycle. So this is the generative function of this. Now you know the logarithm can be put this way. Exponential of log equal this. Connected component, cycle, exponential, assembly. So you see, we play with elementary operation on weighted species with connected component, assembly, product, total order, permutation with cycle. So it's easy. Laguerre polynomial, Hermite, all this is very easy. Once you have the formalism of species, forget the formalism and go to the picture, and you immediately get the interpretation. Exercise. analog to Hermite, shows that the coefficient of the Laguerre polynomial is equal to this. So this is for specialists who know hypergeometric function. Laguerre polynomial, most of the classical, all the classical orthogonal polynomial can be written as a hypergeometric function, more and more complicated. But show this, don't show this if you don't, but show this, that the coefficient of Laguerre, this is an explicit expression of Laguerre polynomial. In fact, Laguerre, land number, etc., are counting injection in one set or another set, in fact. Okay.
We get the quantum Laguerre, continuous Laguerre from this instruction.
The Q, of course, yes.
The Q is
It depends, there is two Q Laguerre.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I have a hole in my memory, but continuous and this.
What is that index I and J? Like
Okay, it's a this. Oh, sorry, I did not define this. It's minus x multiplied by minus x minus. It's a falling factorial. Index j of a number is this number multiplied by the number minus 1, multiplied by minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, until, yes. This is called the descending, falling factorial, and there is a rising factorial where you put x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3. In fact, the land number can be defined by the way to go from the rising factorial to the falling factorial. This gives you two bases of polynomial, and the basis, the matrix changing the two bases gives you the land number. So now you can understand what I have done in chapter 0, the first lecture, that easily you can prove the Meller identity on the Hermite polynomial. So Meller identity is an analog of theoretic function for one Hermite, but now you have two Hermite polynomial. And here I have the square root of this and multiplied by this exponential of this. So in this setting, there is a slight, sometimes the Hermite polynomial are defined by replacing x by 2x. So this is a Meller formula for the modified Hermite polynomial. So first, the left-hand side, you have two Hermite polynomials. So here's the interpretation of the first Hermite polynomial. And there is a second Hermite polynomial totally independent of the first one, except they are on the same number of points. So one Hermite in red and the second Hermite in blue. So if you take superposition of two Hermites, this gives you this picture. And immediately you see some connected component. There is some chain, there is some cycle, non-oriented cycle, and the chain alternate in blue and red. Cycle also alternate in the blue and the red, and the chain, maybe it's the two extreme points, maybe red, maybe blue and red. So this is the left-hand side. Now the right-hand side, there is two ways. Else you interpret this and multiply by the species interpreting this, but interpreting this maybe you have to put inside the exponential. It's what we have done with 1 over t minus power alpha plus 1. So maybe I put it here to get the logarithm. Now this part is the sum of four different terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. The decomposition. And each term is going to be interpreted. So this is a chain, alternating chain with 2 red at the end. Alternating chain with 2 blue at the end. So each of these terms you can easily interpret as alternating chain with 3 possible types depending on the loops at the extreme. And this term is a logarithm of 1 over. So there is a T2 because it's even, and there is a 4 because of the modified Hermite. And if I take only this, I get cycle, oriented cycle, but making 1 over 2 means non-oriented cycle. So this is cycle with no orientation. So this is, now I take the exponential. I have to take exponential of all this. Exponential of all these 4 types of tip. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Exponential of this means you take an assembly of such elementary things of 4 possible types. And this is the same thing that the left-hand side was just when you remember the left-hand side was the superposition of 2 involution, which are of these 4 possible types. So the left-hand side and right-hand side are the same, and so I get a proof of this Meller formula. 30 years ago, when I was a baby at elementary school, I have seen a talk by Dominique Fuenta in Oberwolfach, and it was the whole talk, 1 hour, with a composé partitionnel. At that time, there was no species invented. There was some other model prefab, composé partitionnel, and he make a whole talk to prove the Meller formula. And we were, there was ASCII, the pop of orthogonal polynomial, and everybody was happy, and the combinatorics has become something deeper. This was in the 80s. So. Scheffer polynomial. So this is a very classical subject, which is related to what Giancarlo Rota calls the umbral calculus. This is a whole theory, umbral calculus, but I will just give a few elementary things. So Scheffer polynomial, this is a possible definition. Scheffer polynomial is the generating function of Scheffer polynomial is of this form. There is two generating functions, G and F, which are in the ring of formal power theory in one variable with some coefficient. This is another ring than the ring before. F is such that F0 equals 0, F prime of 0 different 0, so that I can get assembly of people in F, and G of 0 is not 0. And the degree of Pn is always n. And in the special case where G equals 1, where you have only this is called binomial type polynomial. So some time ago there was a whole activity about umbral calculus and about all this polynomial. It was a classical subject 30 or 40 years ago. But this is an analytic definition of Scheffer polynomial. So we are going immediately to give the species interpretation.
Why is it called binomial?
Because it behaves like you will see as a complement an exercise on binomial type. It behaves like the umbral calculus, where a plus b power n, the binomial equals sigma of binomial coefficient, a power k, b power n minus k. So if the exponent, if you put it in index, this gives you an identity on the binomial type polynomial, which is the same as the identity of. If I have time, I will show in complement an exercise to understand that it behaves like binomial identity, but the exponent becomes indices, or conversely, you replace. So there is a easily commutative interpretation. You take the species H equal G, the species of G. Take two species, G in blue interpreting with G generating function. Take a species having this generating function, and you define the species H equals the product of G by the assembly set of F. So here is a typical. So you have a block in blue of the G structure. You have here an assembly of red block of the F structure. Each block is weighted X. So you have a set of F structure weighted by X. So you can easily see when you have this product of this by assembly of the red, you can easily see that such polynomial is the same as this definition. The X is going to be the weight of each block of the assembly of F structure. So this is the interpretation of Scheffer polynomial. This is a H structure with a weight V. The weight is X power, the number of blocks. In binomial type polynomial, it's a special case where there is nothing here. G equal 1, and so the assembly. So it is when you are counting assembly of something by number of blocks. This is exactly what we are doing in assembly of permutation. The first example, counting by number of blocks, gives you the LAH numbers. So there is two examples, very, very classical. The Stirling number, first kind and second kind. So Stirling number is exactly given by this. This is binomial type polynomial, where you are counting permutation according to the number of cycles. So this is exactly exponential of x log of 1 over 1 minus t. So the Stirling number is counting permutation by number of cycles, and it's this polynomial can be as analog of what we have done for Laguerre, and this is going to be an explicit expression for Stirling number, x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus n minus 1. So you see, if you put x equal 1, then you get back n factorial, but I am counting n factorial, or permutation, according to number of cycles, and we will see in the next chapter, next week, that it's counting also left to right minimum element. That is very classical distribution on permutation. You will see some other interpretation of this distribution of Stirling number, the small s, Stirling number of the first kind. Now Stirling to the small s, there is a capital S. Stirling number of the second kind. Stirling the second kind is counting set by partition by number of blocks. So again, it's a binomial type polynomial. The G is equal to 1. F is only number of blocks. So the Bell number, the partition species, is a substitution we have seen last time of set species by non-empty set. And here is a generating function for the polynomial defining Stirling number, and even you have some refinement of this. Refinement, if you, instead of putting a weight x on each block, if you put a weight xn when the block is of length n, what you get is a refinement which are called the exponential polynomial. So it's some polynomial which are counting partition by number of block with 1 point, number of block with 2 points, number of block with 3 points. So you get immediately from the previous standard lemma on spaces that this is exponential generating function. This is generating function for block of size n. This is all possible block of any size, and this is the assembly of such block. So sometimes in classical combinatorics you will see exponential polynomial or the Di Bruno Hopf algebra. So all this is yes, Samri. This is an elegant word to say this kind of things. It's a substitution in this, etc., etc. So only Stirling number, first kind, second kind. Exercise. So now is the answer. Show that exercise for a binomial type polynomial using species, show you have this identity. See, if I replace Pn of x plus y by x plus y power n, I will get binomial type. So this is called the umbral calculus. You have some complicated polynomial. You put instead of the indices, you put an exponent. You apply as if it was exponent. At the end of the calculus, you put back the n below, and then it works. This was called umbral calculus, but there is a beautiful setting done by Giancarlo Rota and his school in MIT, where all this become correct as soon as doing this means you have a linear functional and polynomial behind this. This is called. There's many papers, the umbral calculus by Giancarlo Rota. Second exercise, so for Sheffer type polynomial. So this is easy exercise, and once you know how to manipulate weighted species, assembly, and product, so that for Sheffer polynomial you have this, instead of P and P, here you have P and S.
That means P is binomial type and S is...
Yes. Yes, for Sheffer polynomial, there is always behind the Sheffer, there is a binomial type polynomial, because there were two species, the F and the G. So the blue species, the G, was behind this polynomial, but for each Sheffer, there is a second species, F. If you take only the F, you get the corresponding binomial type polynomial. And sometimes some people call Appel type polynomial the special case of Sheffer polynomial when the F species, in fact, is reduced to 1 point. The generating function f of t is t. So there is no structure, it's just a set. The red species, the f, is reduced. Maybe I'll just show back. You see, when the x is reduced to a single point, the f is 1, then this is called Appel polynomial. If you have a Sheffer polynomial, then automatically the Sheffer, there is behind the Sheffer, there is this binomial, if you cancel this, there is a binomial type polynomial behind any Sheffer polynomial, which is in this equation. Behind any Sheffer polynomial, there is a binomial type polynomial. So we have finished with the second type of species, weighted species. And now I will take L species or linear species. Again, linear species can be weighted. So this is a slightly different. There is more information on a linear species, and it's a very good framework to do differential equation. Integral calculus, differential equation. It's much more easy to do this. That's the previous structure, B species. In B species, the total order and permutation were not isomorphic. Now we have no problem. Everybody having the same genetic function will be isomorphic as a linear species. So linear means there is a total order behind the species. So definition of L species. So I have put B species for the previous species, the set. They put this. They call this B species in Quebec, and L species for linear order. So there is U. You take U, a total order set. Sometimes I need a total order to define some structure. I have a total order set, and M of U is a set, the same definition as for classical species, except I have a list of all possible structure when U is totally ordered. So this is a symbolic picture of a L species. You put an arrow here, means that this is the minimum element, and this is the maximum element. Element of U, there is a total order on element of U. Example. No, not yet. If you like functor and abstracting, let's define it. So you have the category. Let's define the formal definition. Let's do it. So category of L is a category of total order set. The set are the finite. The objects are finite total order set. The arrow are increasing bijection. You take this category. Objects are finite total order set. The arrow are increasing bijection. The bijection must be increasing. And again, as for before, the first species, usual species, finite set and function. And then the linear species, the functor, same way as we are defining in the last time, the first species. So from L to this category, the category of ensemble or set, such that if you have a total order set and you have the list of all M structure on U, then you can transport all the structure on V as soon as you have a transportation, which means an increasing bijection from U to V. And then you have for each F going from U to V, then you can define M of F, the transport of the bijection from this to this. And there is coherence of the M transport to be able to do the theory. So it's exactly the same as before for the set category, except that you have a total order on the set and the bijection must be increasing.
So increasing bijection is acting
as soon as A is less than B, then F of A is less than F of B. It preserves the total order. Increasing of bijection increasing. The order is preserved. If A is less than B, then F of A must be less than F of B. And its bijection is totally ordered. So for example, if you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can have the bijection with A, B, C, D, F, then they have an increasing bijection.
So isn't linear species substitution of linear?
Yes, we are going to see all this. For you are going to see, you can imagine. But before going to define all the operation of linear species, let's take some example. So in this class, you will see next week, a lot of times you will see this example, increasing binary tree. So take a binary tree, contained by Catalan numbers, and put some label on the vertices. Label are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until n. Each integer appears once and only once. And the condition is that the label go increasing when you go from the root going down in the tree. So the child of a vertex, of the label of vertex, are bigger than the label of the father. So I claim that such increasing binary tree are counted by n factorial. So this will be in the chapter next week, chapter 4, will be the n factorial garden. So I anticipate this is one of the fundamental objects of the n factorial garden. Some students seem surprised that this is n factorial. I give you label binary tree are counted by n factorial.
Restriction of this.
No restriction. The restriction is that
Yeah, that.
it's go increasing when you go down. So I give you immediately the proof, and you will be convinced that this is n factorial. So how do you construct an increasing binary tree? First you put the 1. Then there is 2 possible choice for the 2. Each time you put a new vertex, you add an external vertex, edges. Now I have 3 possible choice for the 3. 4 possible choice for the 4. So in increasing binary trees can be put by putting 1, 2, 3, 4 and putting edges. So 5, 6. Sorry?
That's n factorial.
N factorial, okay. 1 by 2 by 3 by 4 is n factorial. So you are convinced that this is n factorial. Once you get the tree, of course, I delete the external edges and I get my element of the L species, increasing binary tree. So it's n factorial. So the exponential geometric function of increasing binary tree is this. So we'll see next week a lot of time. This is another fundamental object in the n factorial garden. We will see inversion table, increasing binary tree, and pair of Young tableau, Robinson-Schoenstatt. All this is. So there is some operation on L species. Some product substitution pointed. It's not necessary to explain all this. You can imagine easily what you should do. What is important is to do the derivative and the integral. Because here you don't, there is no, the order that you don't need, well, the underlying set has a total order, but to define the operation, you do nothing with this total order. But with the derivative and integral, then I will do something with the total order.
You said earlier that if 2 species have the same generating function, then they are isomorphic.
Yes. No, it's not clear. No, I don't want to go to abstract functor and category and theory. Read the book of Gilbert Labelle, François Bergeron, and Pierre Leroux. No, I want to stay in this class at the concrete or commutative object level, and I have been at the functor level, but if you are afraid by this, you don't need to know all the exactly. But we know that there is a solid basement below the theory, so it's enough for us. So I will make special. So this is going to be different from the species we set, the derivative and the integral, and this is going to be very interesting to solve differential equation. So derivative on L species. So it's as before. So you have a set U, totally ordered, and then you add an extra point, and on the extra point you put an M structure. Except that now we have the extra point. You have to say, because it's going to be totally ordered, so the extra point, the convention, is going to be the minimum of the totally ordered set. So if U is totally ordered, you put an extra point which is below, which is less than all the other points. So it becomes the minimum of the totally ordered, of the new set U. So this is why I put 1 plus U symbolically to say that the new point is the minimum, the new minimum of the set U. So this is a derivative. And I give you an example. Oh, yes, proposition, the derivative. You can check that the derivative is again the same behavior that is going to correspond to the derivative of the generating function. Just check when you go back home. So example, the increasing binary tree. So I claim that increasing binary tree satisfies this differential equation. That y prime equal y2 with this initial condition. The y on the empty set is going to be reduced to the set formed by the empty set. So y you have this. Do I have the So you see when the Y prime structure, you have to say, you take a total order set and you add a new point on the total order set. So suppose I have a total order set here. I add a new point, which is going to be the minimum of the new total order set. And here I have the same structure. So Y can be equal, if Y is non-empty, it can be equal to such structure, recursive. So this is a recursive definition. But you can check, you can check that it satisfies the differential equation. Because when you have a Y prime structure, it's like if you take this subset, you add the minimum, and on the total things you put an increasing binary tree. And the left subtree, right subtree are exactly this Y2. Now you have to check the initial condition that if you get Y can be the empty set, can be reduced to the empty set. For example, here, see, if I take this, the left son here, this is going to be Y2, and this is Y, but here I have the empty set. So, going back home, you can convince yourself that increasing binary tree satisfies this differential equation. At the level of spaces, so at the level of derivative function, it's this differential equation, which you have seen last time, that this is a differential equation for total order. So I have a proof that the derivative function of increasing binary tree by differential equation is exactly 1 over 1 minus t. The derivative of this is the square of this, with the same initial condition. And so it's second proof that this is n factorial. I give you another proof. So I anticipate on the next time. I give you the bijection now. Bijection from we have seen the bijection with inversion table, the first, but now this is bijection with permutation. Any binary tree, label or not label, you can go visit all the vertices in order. And the in order means first you visit all the vertices here, then you visit X, then you visit R. So I can define a word. The in order is a word defined recursively like this. I put P for projection. The projection of the binary tree is a projection, it's a word, the projection of L multiplied by X, followed by X, followed by the projection of R. This is a word. The letter are exactly the vertices of the... So if I take the vertices, the letter to be the label, then I get a word. This is the... First you go the left subtree, empty, then 2, then projection of this, which is you put 4 in the middle, projection of this, 5, 7, projection of this, 8. So we are finished with the left subtree. This is the root of the tree. Now I project 3, 6, 3, 6. And I claim that this is a bijection. So we'll make intensive use of this bijection next week in the n factorial garden. See chapter 4. Now integral on L species. So definition with this notation. So we are in capital letter. You have the species. You have a species M of U, linear species, and I define the integral to be some. This is just symbolic notation. To be this way, f of empty set is empty, and f of U, f of the is the M structure on U when you delete the minimum. See, when I was working with derivative, I add a new minimum. When I am working with integral, I delete the minimum. So this is symbolically like this. The integral of the U structure, this is the U structure. You take the minimum, you put it away, and you put an M structure on what remains. And so proposition, you can check that the derivative function of f of this is the integral from 0 to t of this. I start from 0 to get this. There is an initial condition, same as a classical analytic calculus. You have an initial condition by putting f of empty equal empty. So this is the integral of L species. So you see, we need really the minimum of the total order, and this is much more easy to do that if you don't have minimum total order and to do differential equation with set species, the first species of last time. Now we can do much more efficiency integral and differential calculus. So let's take the reverse behavior. You start from an classical analytic function like tangent t. You expand it in formal power series in exponential notation, and 1, 2, 16, 272, you get some positive integer. So immediately problem, this positive integer must count something. And using the power of species, we are going automatically to get a commutative interpretation. So tangent t can be defined by a differential equation, y prime equal 1 plus y2 with this initial condition, which is nicer to do what I am going to do, to write it in an integral form. So y equal t plus sum of 0 to t of y2 dt. And now, this is analytic level. Now this is the commutative level. You just replace each letters by capital letters. And I have a new equation at a set of species, of linear species. So I am looking for a species y such that t is a singleton. You remember the species singleton? It's for any set with no character different by 1, it's 0. And for the set with character 1, it's a single point, sometimes with 3. And this is the integral of the square of the species y. So you just have to say what is singleton, what is primitive. So singleton means a single point. And this means you put the minimum apart, and on what remains, you put a y2 structure. A y2 means I take a partition of the underlying set, which is total order, and on the left, on the one block I put y, second block I put y. So just repeat this. Repeat this, and you get the solution automatically. What is the solution? It's complete increasing binary tree. Complete means that every vertex else has 2 child or else has no child. When the binary tree was incomplete, this was n factorial. But when the binary tree is complete, there is no single point, it's a label. And then this complete binary tree gives you an interpretation. If you want to go back to the differential equation, this is a differential equation for complete binary tree. This is a species 1. The singleton? No, it's not the singleton. It's 1, it's a... No, when the set is empty, you take the set empty. For the permutation, it was 0 here. And it means that there is no structure for any set. But for this one, it means there is a structure on the empty set, which is the empty set itself. And when you have the... Yes, it means when you have the empty set, you take the empty set. So you can work with differential equation, or it's more intuitive to work with integration.
So if you go back to the initial condition for increasing binary, for y of empty, what is y of empty in increasing binary?
Well, it's y of empty. When it's empty, there is no label. I can always say it's increasing. Increasing, it's empty increasing binary tree. It's so this means, this means that when I was working with permutation with a general tree, some vertices has only one child on the right, no child on the left. This means I was allowed y to be empty. But here I don't allow any vertex to have an empty child. Now if I take the bijection I show you by projecting, reading in order the binary tree. So I project this gives me a permutation, and this permutation is called an alternating permutation. Alternating means that if you look from left to right, the word, see, you have a descent. Descent means this, that that this letter is bigger than the following letters. So there's a descent, there is a rise, descent, rise, descent, rise. So alternating means that the descent and rise are going alternating, and you start with a descent. So the number, such trees are an odd number of letters. They are alternating, and I claim that you see the blue number, the red number are exactly the valley in this picture. The blue number are exactly the leaf of the tree. So if on the previous tree, when there was possibility to have simple nodes, means there would be a double descent or a double rise. To say that the tree is complete is equivalent to say that you have an alternating permutation. And so the coefficient in tangent T, the Taylor series of alternating permutation on I am on an odd number of elements, is going to be the number of alternating permutation. So I have solved my problem to give a combinatorial interpretation of the coefficient of tangent T, and this was done much earlier by Désiré André in the 19th century. But he defined alternating permutation. I have no idea how he found it. Maybe he was working with alternating permutation and he realized that this was tangent T. I don't know. But if you took the reverse problem, I give you tangent T, give me a combinatorial interpretation. I give you Jacobi elliptic function, SNC and the end, give me interpretation. So this was a problem at math when I was young. Everybody was looking to have a combinatorial interpretation, and it can be done using the machinery of this integration of these spaces and differential equation. So what about alternating permutation on an even number of letters? So here I claim that this is a development of 1 over cosinus t, which is called the secant numbers, which are 1, 5, 61. They are always odd numbers. Tangent number has a lot of divisibility by 2. And just check that 1 over cosine t satisfies this differential equation. Y is tangent t, and z is secant t, the inverse of cosine. So you have this system of differential equation with this initial condition. So you just have to solve this. And you solve this, it's analog to tangent t. So this is analog to tangent t, but here you have the second z, it's for secant, so you can have y and on the right z. So if you recursively do the same thing we have done for tangent number, you get these trees. So on the left is a y, like same for tangent. On the right, the subtree is a z. Here the left is like for tangent. So you finish with something which is like an incomplete. It will be a complete binary tree, but you delete the last vertex, which is at the end of the right branch of the tree, starting from the roots. And if you project this, you get alternating permutation on an even number of vertices. So for tangent t, see, you are going up at the end. For secant, you finish with a descent. So there will be also some weight analog to what, but for integral, the only difference with yes? Here?
There may be two leaves which are removed.
Hmm?
There may be two which are removed.
So maybe, I don't...
There may be two leaves.
no, only one here. If you take a complete binary tree, if you...
That Z will again have a Y and Z. Unless you add with empty.
See, when you recursively do this, because the z has, if I go back to the z, excuse me, where is it? Here. See the initial condition. The z, the fact that when you go right, on the right of the binary tree, you can have an empty leaf. This is the initial condition. For the z, initial condition for the y. This is empty spaces. This is the spaces which correspond to 1, which correspond to, it's possible to have spaces on an object on the empty set. So this initial condition, this is analog to the initial condition of permutation. You remember y prime equal y2. So this is the analog for position, and this is the analog for tangent t. This will go back to complete increasing binary tree. So every vertex has two child, but here maybe some child can be empty. There is no child. You allow no child. So the z the z analog to the y of the permutation. The y is analog to the tangent t. And if you go, so see if you recursively do this, and so on the left is like tangent t. It's a complete increasing binary. Here it's a z binary t. But if you repeat this construction, say I have z, then on the left of z I will have a y. So if you continue, your z is propagating, and it's only here that we will stop with the empty set here. So it's exactly as before, but there is just one vertex is missing in this position here. So you can do the weight on integral L species. There is no problem for the weight of L species as before. So some historical remark about tangent and secant numbers. So we have seen tangent t, secant. This is so it's sometimes called Euler number because he gets this number explicitly in his papers, and this is called tangent number. So this was all this alternating permutation was invented by Désiré André. He was looking very hard for elliptic function. He did not succeed, but there are many papers. And then you see, 100 years later, there was a whole book by Dominique Fouettach and Berger, Geometric Theory of a Eulerian Polynomial, where there is a lot of this secant, this tangent. They introduced some new class of permutation called André permutation. There is another interpretation, so it's a lecture note in mathematics. So you see, almost 100 years, and if we go back 100 years earlier, then there is Euler. Euler I've done. So you jump century to century, you see, it's amazing. And Euler, look, 1, 5, 61, this is the tangent, the secant number, explicitly in Euler. This is why maybe it's called Euler numbers. And this is, you see, the secant. This is an S at that time of Euler. Now tangent t, so this is different, maybe there is a 2 power something minus 1. And these are the Bernoulli numbers. So Bernoulli numbers as rational, and if you multiply them by 2 power 2n minus 1, then you get an integer, which is called the Genocky numbers. And the relation between Genocky and tangent is also this. So we are close to Bernoulli numbers working with all this. And n plus 1 tangent. So you see tangent t is divisible by, tangent t itself is divisible by 2 power n. Because when you take the complete binary tree, you can always exchange in each node left and right subtree. So you can easily show that this thing is divisible by 2 power n. But the fact is divisible by 2 power 2n, this is still, to my knowledge, an open problem. When I was very young, I spent many time to try to show that this was divisible by 2 power 2n. We succeed only divisible by 2 power n. This is easy to show. So here are Genocky numbers, 1, 3, 17, 155. They are all odd numbers. So this is Genocky. And in fact, again, these Genocky numbers are in the Euler. I did not know that, but when I have to give a talk at the Bibliothèque Nationale de France about Euler and the combinatorics, and then I discover, looking at in the Latin, 1, 3, 17, 155. And now we go back 2 centuries later, my good master, you see, tangent t over 2 is working with odd, even, is doing some very interesting thing about non-commutative differential equation. With an example of André permutation, this is the example, this Euler tangent numbers and divisibility by 2, and there is a non-commutative differential equation. So this is, I can say, the great master speaking among the century from one to another. And then, so you can extend this. There's a complement. This is a differential equation defining elliptic function. There is a parameter k. If you put k equal 1, you get back tangent t and secant t. So this interpretation is going, the coefficient in the expansion in Taylor series is going to be polynomial in K, which for K equivalent give back the tangent and secant number. So this can be done. It's in fact, there is a three, this was in the 80s, and each of these people give different combinatorial interpretation. So this was with the differential equation. This was with continued fraction, and this was a set generation. The one was another generation for. So I have finished this. I have 15 minutes to give you some compliments. So we go immediately. So there is a general theory to solve a differential equation by using spaces, which you can deduce, for example, elliptic function. But then there is this differential equation with forcing term. This is called control theory. You have an input, and then you want to compute to give an expression of y in terms of the function u. Suppose you have a boat on the sea, and there is big of waves. So these are the waves. It's the function u, and then you must know the behavior of your boat in function of u. So this is typically a control theory where you have input. The output is what the boat is going to do, or what the plane is going to do if there is a lot of wind. So this is the input, this is the output, and you want to solve this differential equation. So at the time in the 70s, 80s, so Michel Fliess has done a lot of things to solve that, to use non-commutative variable, formal power theory, to give explicit expression of this of the solution of such equation. And he does this. So usually, this in physics or in control theory, the solutions are given are infinite sum of what is called multiple integral of Volterra kernel, but you can equivalently transform this into iterated integral, Chern iterated integral. And Fliess gave an expression, a general expression in control system, but that y is going to be the sum over all, this is a coefficient, sum over all certain words, and for each word, you associate a certain iterated integral in the following way. So if you take a word, so if you have only one input, for example, that's a function u, so you have a word in two letters, x0, x1, and you define an iterated integral, the way Katie Chen was doing iterated path integral, so it's easy to understand. I give an example. I give you this word, and then the iterated integral is this. You read from the x1, so I integrate u. x0, each time I have x0, I just integrate. Integrate, x1, multiply by u, and integrate. So it's a succession of integration, iterated integral. When there are red letters, you put the u. When there is black letters, you just integrate. So for each word, you have a certain function, which depends on u, a functional in u, and then you take the sum. And then you can solve this by the sum of all possible iterated integral associated to each word, and he gives an algorithmic way to compute this coefficient by a computer. So how to compute this coefficient? He says that this coefficient can be computed by using the shuffle product of two non-commutative power theory. So what is a shuffle? Shuffle of two words. For the shuffle algebra, when you take two words, you take the sum of all possible words that you can make by interlacing u and v. See, typically you take some point which has number of points, the sum of the length of u and v, and then you take all possible way to interlace u and v. You call this a shuffle of the word. So you can extend this to polynomial, to formal power theory, and then it shows that using this kind of thing, with a correspondence between shuffle product and integral. In fact, when you have an integral with below a product of two functions, this corresponds in non-commutative power theory to take the shuffle of the two corresponding generating functions. Integration, product below integration means taking the shuffle in the formal power theory. And then we came later with my friend Pierre Leroux to say that all this, you don't need shuffle generating function. You can apply combinatorics directly to get the coefficient. Because Michel Fliess showed me this, for this case, he showed me by, he takes the shuffle, he takes all this theory, he made by computer, and he told me it's surprising because the number of iterated integrals which are not zero is a Catalan number. And then by a computer, he makes the coefficient. And then I told him, but your coefficient is the product of the height of each point of the disk path, so you don't need anything. You just have a disk path product. So elementary commentaries come back in the picture. And in fact, if you can solve, you remember tangent t, y prime equal y2 plus 1, in the commental solution with spaces, with integration of spaces, is contained the solution with a u. I claim that you don't have to do more. You have inside your solution with spaces, you have the solution for the u. So I give an example. This is a simple nonlinear circuit. This is a typically control theory, and this is a differential equation which gives the behavior of this circuit. So u is the input. I'm not going to comment this, but just take this differential equation with alpha, beta, and u. So if I have alpha equals 0 and u equal 1, I get back tangent t. But now I claim that in my solution of tangent t, maybe it will be 3 with 1 node or 2 nodes, because I have y and y2, it will be binary tree or single nodes. But I claim the solution, I have the u, so I put it in integral form, like before. So now I have a constant, integration constant, the initial condition. And now I apply the same philosophy as before. The species y is minimum here, y or minimum here, plus now the extra, this is a function, the new species in red, plus integration constant. I make recursively this, and I get a tree like this. So you see again, it's an increasing tree with one or two sun or one sun. There is some weight alpha beta which depends of the weight alpha beta was exactly the weight here. Alpha beta is the coefficient of the equation. You can put them inside the tree. Now you see the leaf. Maybe the leaf is an integration constant. So for tangent t, gamma was 0. So it means there is no. And now there is some other leaf where there is a function u, which appears to the leaf of this tree. So now if I read the vertex 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for each time I have a black vertex, I put x0. Each time I met a leaf with a label u, I put x1. So to this tree, I can associate a word. To this word, I can associate an iterated integral. The weight of the tree is going to be the total weight alpha beta plus multiplied by the integration constant. You get a word. And now I claim that the solution is the sum of all weight of all trees, iterated integral, associated to the word of the tree. See, take this tree, take the word associated, take the weight. So this gives an iterated integral, u, integrate, multiplied by u, etc. And this gives you a solution of your control theory differential equation. But now there is much more. In fact, you can go from trees to paths, to what we call history. History is as before, when we are proving that increasing binary tree was counted by n factorial, I do the same idea. 1, I put the 2 in 2 different ways. I put the 3, I stop because it's a variable u. Then there are 2 different ways I can put here or here. So same philosophy, a little more complicated. And sometimes I stop else with the variable function u, or sometimes I stop with the integration constant. So I have a certain bijection. I preserve the weight, and then I have a bijection with path. Sorry to go very fast, but this just gives you the flavor of this theory. And from this word, from these trees, I go to a word, I go to path with weight, and then for each path, you see, I have x0, x0, x1, x0, x1. Each time I go down, I put an x1. For each path, I have an iterated integral associated with a certain weight. So I claim now that the solution of my equation is the sum over all these paths. For each path, I associate a word with a certain weight. Total, there is a big weight. So I claim that for this word w, I claim the coefficient exactly of the iterated integral associated to this is exactly given by this. So you have really explicit, total explicit expression using the philosophy of species with some more complicated, but what I mean is that working with integration constant, gamma, or working with the u, which is a function, it's no problem with the same philosophy. From ordinary, for tangent number, you can go to this kind of much more complicated things. Also, you can generalize many other differential equations. So you have the analog of paths. Instead of Dicke paths, you have much more complicated paths. And so the whole theory you can do. And this comes from a general theory that if you have this general equation in spaces, the spaces M, with two kinds, and you want the solution of this. So this is extension of what I have done, integration to get tangent T. Extension, when you repeat this, you get this kind of things. So we work with at this level to have the general theory of differential equation. And you can prove classical theorem like separation of variable if you have you want to solve this differential equation knowing the solution of this one, then the solution of this differential equation is a substitution of this integral in the yg, which is the solution of this one. To solve this one, you just first solve this one, and then you have this integral. And the proof is this. Separation of variable. This species is like what we call unrich trees. Say you have on the sun, all of this vertex of all the sun descent child of this vertex, you put an F structure, a G structure, you have two kinds of structure on each, and then you can separate them. And this separation gives you the proof of classical theorem. So we are just to give you the flavor. I don't try to understand, but just to give the flavor that once you have the general theory, and what is the interest of doing such very classical theorem in terms of, it's because you can extend it when you have a sum of two things. So now you cannot do separation of variable in the classical analytic theory, but you can do on the picture separation of these two things. I separate the blue and the green. So I have this, and then I put them together to have a total order here. And what I get is the iterated integral. Because this one is, this is a visual way of iterated integral. This is the proof of what I have said before with the control theory. So this is just gives you a flavor of the general theory. With this general theory, then you can make elliptic functions, which are, again, become very simple. You can get Polya-Urn model. Maybe it's too much today. And the Dickson, there is also elliptic function, Dickson function related to Fermat-cubic curves. So you can also solve this by using the philosophy of solving differential equation. It is related to the Polya-Urn model. There is a beautiful paper by Flageolet in 2006 showing all this relation, Polya-Urn, combinatorics of differential equation, and Fermat curve, and all these cubic curves. And finally, we will see in the next one of the next class, orthogonal polynomial, which are this formal definition with moments. Hermite polynomial, this is the moment. And I will finish with this. If the class of orthogonal polynomial intersection the class of Scheffer polynomial, we have seen Hermite and Laguerre. There is only 5 polynomial: Hermite, Laguerre, Charlier, Mexner 1, Mexner 2. 5 polynomials which are at the same time orthogonal and Scheffer. So orthogonality is another theory which involves Dicke paths, all the completely different things. Scheffer polynomial involves exponential structure, and the combination of the two intersect here, and we are here finishing with the ASCII tableau of orthogonal polynomial. Here is Hermite, here is Laguerre. We have seen Hermite and Laguerre, and the moments are n factorial. Hermite are the number of involution with no fixed point. Charlier is the number of partition. And Mexner 1, Mexner 2 is a special case. The moments are special case for second number, tangent or order partition. Okay. Thank you for your attention and to support all these 15 minutes of complement.